All right. Here's one by request. Kind of. There we go. Kind of by request. All right. So today I'm going to show you exactly. I went over compression in this video link, but I'm going to kind of do another, like, where to apply compression, how to know exactly what to set the threshold to. What is this reverb doing? And yeah, because the questions I've been getting is, how did you know what number to put, or where did you get those numbers from? So I'm going to go right from the very start, and I'm going to show you where we use our compression, because that is the hardest thing to understand as a noob. And you guys are all noobs. Dirty noobs. So, my voice coming in is already compressed. I'm using a microphone I don't usually use, but whatever. So, we're just doing like rehearsals and stuff, so that's why. But I'm going to use my guitar as an example. My guitar is coming through mixer channel 1, and it's being routed to insert 3. So it's coming in, insert 1, rename as guitar in. This is my voice. And I routed, as in previous videos, right click, route to this track only to insert 3, which I'll now call guitar out. All right. So it's coming in here and then being recorded, and then the recording is being sent to mixer track 3 automatically, and also all the audio that's coming in is being sent out. All right. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to put Fruity Limiter here. All right. Now this is FL Studio's compressor. Fruity Limiter. It's not necessarily just a limiter. I think, honestly, it should be called compressor because you use compressors more than you use limiters. So anyways, click on this little thing here to switch it to compressor mode. All right, now, a couple things. It does not have a pre-gain. All right, so this gain is going to be applied to after the compressor, and it's going to be applied to before the limiter. So it's not really illustrated well in the GUI, but these are the controls that you need to know with compression: threshold, ratio, attack, and release. I'm going to show you exactly what all of these do. Knee is another. I'll show you a visual example of the knee, but these are your main 4 things that you need to know: threshold, ratio, attack, and release. Okay. Now, first of all, we need to take a look at our signal, and we can see right there that it's kind of like when you use processed audio. Like, a lot of you people record really, really loud, and here, I'll turn it up. There we go. Just so we can have a more visual example of what we're working with here. So, take that off. This guitar's DI, that's what it sounds like. Like crap. All right, so this is our input signal, okay? Now, if you look in your tip up at the top left, after a strum, you can see that right there is 9.6-ish decibels, okay? The top of that peak, this is called a peak. The top of that is at now 11.10-ish, 10. So just do that. Bring your signal in, and then you can see the peaks here because it holds the peaks for you. So that peak is at 9.6, or you can do this the hard way like that, and it's also around the same. So what we want to do is set our threshold below the peak. Okay? Why? Because our threshold triggers the compressor, okay? So basically, the compressor is not going to do anything until this peak is above this threshold, okay? So threshold down to 17. Okay, now pay attention. 19. Okay, I'm going to put this to 19.6 because that's about what 19.5. Okay, let's go 19 if I can. Okay, 19. Now, our threshold is minus 19, okay? Now, if my input signal is -9, which is about what it's at, okay? Our input signal is at -9. Our threshold's at -19. Let's do that math. -19 subtract -9, you get 10. You get 10 decibels of working compressor, okay? Just look at it visually. Right here, we got -9 going down to -19. This is the working audio that the compressor is going to use, okay? Now, this is important because this tells you what exactly is going to get compressed. So, here we go. I'm going to show you here. So, our threshold, our ratio is at 0 right now, or at 1 to 1, because it's division, right? So 1 divided by 1 is 1. It's not going to do anything to that number. So, here we go. So we got our signal coming through. It's really loud. Here, I'll turn down the fader here, which is not going to affect our signal going into the compressor, because this fader is after the effects, okay? So, compressor. I'm just going to show you. We're going to reduce the ratio now, and after 19 decibels is when the signal is going to start to be compressed. Okay, so ratio 1 to 2. Okay, so see this here? This here is, how do I pause this stupid thing again? Forget. I can make it slower, which will help us. Damn, I thought there was a way to, oh yeah. There we go. No, that doesn't do it. Damn it. Well, shoot. I thought there was oh, just click on the box. All right. This is my signal, okay? The purple is showing you the input signal, okay? Now, here, let's turn that purple off. This line here is your output signal, okay? So our purple is our input. This blue line following down is our output signal. So that is after, and this up here is this signal that is actually getting compressed. So it's this purple minus this top compressed signal, and you're going to get this blue signal. So this blue signal is the actual output after the compressor has divided the signal after it is past the threshold. So right here we got a -4. Now let's get our calculator out. This isn't like, you don't need to know the math. Oops. All you need to know is the actual all you need to know is the sound, okay? Because the math doesn't really matter. You just want to make your signal manageable, okay? So, screw that. So, okay, look. Here we go. I'm going to show you why you want to use a compressor, all right? Basically, let's turn this compressor off and take a listen. That's really out of tune. But, okay, you could hear my guitar is going really low and really loud. What that's going to do, when you get a whole mix of music in there, that really low part on your guitar is going to get completely buried in the mix, okay? You're not going to hear it. What we need to do is compress that signal so that we can hear the guitar throughout the whole song. Now, I'm going to record that passage after I tune this stupid guitar. Tuna. It's not a tuna. So I'm using a Motu 896 to do all my recording. And that's why you get, that's my tuner that I use. Wow, my computer's really glitching out today. It's really weird. See this? Here we go. Anyways, okay, I'm going to record this guitar, and I'm going to show you how to compress it. So you can either record with the compression on or off. It doesn't matter as long as your compressor is not in this mixer channel, okay, or mixer insert, because this you got your input here coming in, which is analog to my guitar. It's coming in, it's going to go through these effects, this fader, and then it's going to record the signal. So it's going to record whatever is in this effects bin and whatever this fader and panning does. Okay, so if your fader's down and you record, it's going to record a really low signal. So keep your fader normal, keep this, make it no effects unless you want to record the compression, which I don't really recommend unless you have a slow computer. The only reason you'd want to record effects is if you have a slower computer and you can't do all that live processing after, okay? And I don't even have a top-of-the-line computer. I have like an i5 750 with 8 gigs of RAM or something. So it's not even that like top-of-the-line, but it can handle anything I throw at it. So you don't need a major computer to make good music, right? Because my music is so good. All right, so here we go. I'm going to record this. Take this click off just to show you. Oh, I don't want to record my voice with that as well. There we go. So I think that clipped, but doesn't matter because it's just for illustrative purposes. Okay, I'm going to turn this, move the guitar. Now, this is where compression matters, okay? This signal, you can even look at it and you see that these peaks are, the dynamic range is incredible. Like we have a really low passage here, and then we call them phrases. Every part that is the same volume relatively, we call a phrase. Okay, so these louder phrases are going to need to be compressed. Now, where are we going to set our threshold on here? Let's take a look at this audio signal. Just look at it. Where would you put the threshold? We're going to put our threshold right under these peaks here. Okay, why? Let me show you. Put our limiter on. Let's reset it. Reset everything. Okay, let's play this. Just cut it. So all the shortcuts I'm using right now are in my previous video named shortcuts. Just look up FL NoobZone shortcuts. Very good video if you want to work fast. So look at this. So see this right here? Right here we have our main low part, and then it gets really loud and then comes back down. So I want to set the threshold right below these peaks. Don't even worry about the numbers, okay? Just don't even worry about the numbers. Just do what sounds good. So we're going to put it below these peaks, about there, yeah. So now we want to compress these peaks down, and there's a couple things we need to know here. This, we're going to, usually you don't want to use a ratio more than 1:4, okay? Just because you'll get an over compressed type sound. You can do whatever the heck you want, you know. It just depends on the sound you're going for. A higher compressed sound will get a more, like, I mean, on that Kobe Calais song, Brighter Than the Sun, like that guitar at the very start is super, super compressed. Now, she's using a very low release and a low attack to get that really slamming type guitar sound. The reason the release is important, I'll show you. So we got our, let's put our, I'm going to show you. I'm using a 2-to-1 ratio right now, okay? 2-to-1. All right. Now, actually, let's use something harder than that. So 3-to-1. And you'll notice, like, look at that, look at the slope on this thing. It's like almost limiting the signal at 3-to-1. Doesn't seem like a lot, but that's dividing that signal that's over the threshold by 3. So that's, for example, if we had 9 decibels over, it's going to divide that by 3, and you'll end up with 3 decibels over. Okay, so we're going to have it's very, very strong compression. So Yeah, let's use 3 just to show you. But let's start this. See it working here? Hear the difference? Okay, I'm going to put it right at this loud passage, and I'm going to show you first the compressed signal, and then we're going to go back to the uncompressed signal, and you're going to hear what I'm talking about. See what happened there? It reduced the signal, but only after it went over this threshold, okay? So it reduced the signal, it divided the signal over the threshold by 3, which really brought the signal down. Like, you can hear it instantly. If you can't, go back and listen until you can hear the difference. Okay, I'm going to do it once more. Compressed signal, I'm going to go back, and then I'm going to do the uncompressed signal. All right, you can hear that definitely. So now I'm going to show you where ratio or where attack and release are important. Usually the attack is important for more percussive sounds. So let's say this one here is pretty percussive, but even this is like what, 30 milliseconds or something. Like, most compressors are gonna you'll notice that the FL Studio one, it's like down here you're starting with really low, and then it's kind of exponential how it goes up. So this goes up to 1 second attack, and it goes down to 0. So I'm going to show you, let's go with 1 second attack, and I'm going to show you how that affects the signal, okay? See, it barely even touched that. Now, what happened there is that, I'll show you again. See right here? The attack, it started right here at about this one, this signal here, and it didn't actually start compressing until about a second after that that signal went over the threshold, which is like way over here. You could see it starting to build up this blue line, which is the actual signal, the actual like compressy thing, like that's like the trigger. Sorry. Okay, so you'll notice that our purple, which is the original, and our white here, which is the compressed signal, like the actual after signal, is it actually brought down after that main hit, which is what we don't want. That's like what people are going to hear. So we're going to use a compress or attack. You can use an attack of 0. You can use an attack of anywhere up to about 30 should do it for this. And you'll notice that when I put it up to 30 there, it was a little more punchier, but it's still reduced. See right here? It still had a little bit of punch at the very start of the guitar parts, but it still brought the volume down significantly. You notice that this, the compressor didn't actually trigger until right after the punch started. So you get this punchy guitar, but let's play it again. See? You get a nice punchy guitar, but it's still not too loud. And that's where attack is important, okay? Now, release is important on, it basically enhances or kills the breath of the instrument. So let's turn our release down, and you're going to notice. Okay, you hear that? It was really crunchy, almost clipping sounding, because it's basically rounding off those waves. It's basically, see it right here? It's compressing after each time the waveform goes. It's really hard to illustrate without, here we go. So our wave is made up of a squiggly line, essentially. So if our release is smaller than these two samples, then it's going to compress down this sample, and it's going to come back out for between the samples, and then back down, and then out, then back down, out, back down, out. Okay, and that's going to give you this really clippy, crunchy sound. We don't want that, but if you want to enhance that a bit, you can add the release to... what happened? Oh. So you still get that crunchy kind of sound. Let's turn that up. Let's say about 50. See, still a little smoother, but you can still see it's still bringing out, and those are like essentially those are the bass frequencies of the guitar, okay, that it's compressing, which is gonna make it muddier. So what you can do is you can reduce the bass with fruity parametric EQ before the compressor. You'll see there's much less bass being compressed, but your guitar sounds thinner. So the compressor can change the sound dynamically just because it's increasing, and it essentially increases just the bass of the guitar, because that long sine wave is a bass signal. And then, yeah, just zoom into you can't do it in FL Studio, unfortunately. Can zoom in quite a bit. You can do it in Edison, I believe. Let's see, edit. And then we can, I'm pretty sure we can zoom in pretty far here. Oh, it takes so long. So we can take a look at exactly how the waveform is built up. And you can see, like, after you, I suggest you grab like 3 OSC. It's the very basic, or the plugin, and you can just use one sine wave, and you can see exactly how frequencies are made. So you put like the wave candy, and then put the 3 OSC on, and you can see. So basically, these long ones are your lower tones, and these squiggly lines that are on top of the long ones. So we got our long note. These are our lower frequencies, and these squiggly lines on top of the long ones are our higher frequencies. Okay, and you'll notice that there's, zoom in more here. We got really small ones, which are the higher ones, and then we got these like kind of medium range ones. Those are medium frequencies, and then these are our low frequencies. Okay, so we want to set our compressor release for longer than that, or it's going to just crunch those low frequencies up, which we don't want. It just gives us a really muddy type sound, right? So we'll put that. There we go. Nice smooth compression. All right, see that? So really smooth, and that basically after your signal goes below the threshold, the release, it's going to hold on to the compression for that amount of time. In this case, it's 0.4 seconds, 400 milliseconds. Okay, so 1,000 milliseconds is 1 second. 0.4, so 400 milliseconds is, and you can just you can do it like 1, 2, 1. That's like a second, and then divide that in half. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So that's 500 milliseconds. That's 500 milliseconds there. Okay. Then 250 milliseconds would be double that. Or so that's a gap of 250 milliseconds. All right. So you just look at your watch. One, if any of you have a watch anymore, you darn kids and your iPhones. No, I'm just kidding. So you can just go to your Windows thing. 2, 1. That's 1,000 milliseconds right there. 1 and 2 and every and is 500. 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and 2 E and so that's 250 milliseconds between 1 E and So that's how you can like visualize time in milliseconds, because I know it's hard to, like, milliseconds are always kind of the mystery when you're working with attack and release. Okay, but that's basically it. You can put your attack up more, less, just play with it. Okay. Now basically our knee is going to add a slope to the compressor. Okay. Now, okay, knees work in there's two different kinds of knees. I use the Cakewalk compressors quite a bit, which are, what the heck? What the heck? Sonitas. Well, apparently I don't have it. Where the heck is it? Didn't I just get it? Let's 4 new plugins were found. Not my Sonitas effects. Well, shoot. I don't know. Sony. See, I got my delay there. Anyways, with the Sonitas, it actually rounds off. Take a look at this. Here, I'll just put this back up so we can get a visual. See the ratio here? It actually adds a knee to this right here. So it triggers the compressor before it hits the threshold, and then I don't think this one works in the same way. I'll have to check the manual. Let's just, here, I'll pause it and then I'll check it just so we know. I see. So this one works in a kind of a different way. The knee actually works, it makes it so when it hits the threshold, depending on how far the threshold over it goes, it's not going to compress the signal to its full extent yet. So basically, let's say, for example, we're going to, let's set our knee to 50%. I don't know the exact math, but I'm just going to give you an example, okay? So it goes over the threshold. Let's say we got a signal that goes 10 decibels over the threshold. If, let's say our ratio is at 4:1, so if the signal is only at 50% or at 5 decibels over the threshold, our ratio will be 2:1. Okay, so it's like it graduates or what is it? It like gradually compresses rather than 4:1 instantly after it goes over the threshold. Okay, so just play around with that. Yeah, if you don't get this, just send me a comment in the bottom and I'll answer your questions. Take a look at the first one before you do it, and then come here to do the advanced class, because this is it's getting a bit more advanced now. So just play with that release. Remember, keep your release fairly long, because 250 to 500 should do it for most things. Now, remember, when you're compressing drums, you don't want to, here, okay, I'll do this really quick here. Okay, cowbell. Everybody needs some cowbell. Pattern. All right, this is just, I don't know, one of my drum kits. I'm going to put that to guitar out. Let's take a look at it. Okay, now, our drums always have this shape generally because it's a percussion instrument. Really high attack, it hits the peak at the very start of the waveform, whereas a voice is usually has like a slope up, just like this guitar. When I'm playing softly, it slopes up into the waveform, into the peak, but percussion peaks right away. Now compression can do two things. It can either kill the transients or enhance the transients. This transient is the very first peak. That's what it's called. Okay, so take a look at this. I'm gonna adjust the attack. I'm gonna put the threshold below our peaks, and then we're gonna see exactly what the attack does to a percussion instrument. See, it's killing this transient. Turn it down a bit. It's really annoying cowbell. There we go. There's a good one. There's a good example. So, notice it's killing that transient. And our release, it's actually compressing even after the signals drop below the threshold. Let's reduce the release here to just get that very first transient. Now we have a really controlled transient. See that? Hear that sound? It's more of a washy type of block. It's called a block. So now I'm going to increase the attack. Hear that? So we're getting much more transient now. You can even see it. That's the great thing about this, is that, here, I'll make it slower so we can actually, it's actually giving us more transient. Hear that? All right, so this is important when it comes to snare drums and bass drums. Let's increase the ratio again. So now we're compressing the whole sample because the release is longer than the actual sample. Okay, so now let's do the attack. So now what's happening is with the high release and high attack, it's pushing out this transient and it's compressing after the transient. So we're compressing the rest of the sample rather than the whole sample. We're leaving the transient and we're compressing the meat of the sample, which is the room sound, I guess you can call it. So you can really kill a room sound this way. Let's put the ratio up. Now it's just really kind of a dry signal compared to. Hear that? This is the original. And that's a really clicky block. So it's more punchy and more upfront, dry kind of sounding. All right. So that's how you kind of play with that. That's really important. So don't even worry about these numbers. You can even turn off this visualization. Okay. And just use your ears. All right. Use your ears. Listen to what it's doing. And that's about it. I probably am like way over time here, but I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned a lot. Please refer my videos to your friends, and so they can be expert producers like you. Okay, we'll talk to you later.